Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this very weird little knife right here. This is the CRKT Joe Caswell Provoke. And this is kind of a thought-provoking knife, and I'm very glad I got a chance to check one out. And actually, I want to thank my buddy Chris for sending this along. He was sending me a couple of other things, and he threw this in the package like, Nick, you should check this out. And indeed, I should. This is a weird one. But yeah, so there you go. Next thing, let's do a little bit of a size comparison here. This is a weird knife to size compare because if it's open, it's entirely different in shape than if it's closed. But here it is open against the Spyderco Delica. Here it is against the Ontario Rat number 1. And your Rat number 2 here. So you can see here that it's kind of a big one. By the way, sorry, some jackass has a wood chipper going. But nevertheless, there's that. And then blade length-wise, we are coming in not so far off of the Delica, but it's recurved and whatnot. And I'm trying to think, I have no idea how a cop would measure this, but being as, you know, you're probably coming in at like 2.75-ish inches, about no matter how you go about it, 2.5 if you measure from the top side, or on the grind, it's like 2.5. Either way, this is someplace in that rough vicinity. And then I also want to do a quick size comparison of this guy once it is closed, just to give you a sense of the size in the pocket. This is not a small knife in the pocket particularly. You can see here that the Delica fits kind of entirely within its, but it's also not ginormous. Even though it is a relatively long knife overall when open, it compacts down, it transforms, if you will, and that's kind of the whole idea of the thing. So there you go. Next thing, there is no disassembly for this knife. In practice, it shouldn't be too hard. You've got these 4 screws here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'll just need to hold something on the other side here. But the simple fact is that this is a loaner, it's going up for sale, and I already see some evidence of the coating wearing away around those screws, so I'm not going to hurt it any further by doing that, and frankly, I didn't need to do the disassembly in order to be able to evaluate this guy, at least to the extent I need to. Speaking of evaluating this guy, I can already hear 50,000 people in the comments saying, Nick, it's a Karambit, it's a self-defense tool, you're missing the point. Like, yeah, if this is the point right here, then I am going way the heck by it, because that's not my world. I believe that the very best knife for self-defense is a pair of running shoes, and that you should de-escalate rather than busting out your Karambit at any given opportunity. But, and I know that Karambits have all sorts of combat martial uses that I simply do not understand. That's a simple fact of my reviewing. But I'm going to talk about this in the context of an everyday carry pocket knife, and yes, that's missing the point entirely, but hopefully you'll still find this overview a little interesting. Then finally, as I'm disclaimer in here, one important detail on this guy. You may have seen a knife that is remarkably similar to this one put out on the Kickstarter by Joe Caswell, right here, Caswell Knives, and being produced in the US of A by Millet Knives up there in the Idaho. And this is by the same guy, by Joe Caswell, but this is made overseas by CRKT. There are 2 different versions of this knife. One of them was funded on Kickstarter, the Millet version that is in titanium with 3V steel and a true DLC coating, for $450 each through the Kickstarter. And those haven't been delivered yet. Those haven't gotten out into the real world yet. But now there's this imported version, which is created by the original maker. This is not a rip-off or a clone or anything like that. It is done by the maker. It's being made by CRKT, and this one is $200. And so, those are both versions of the same knife. They are very, very, very similar in a lot of ways, but the materials and the overall construction, at least they're telling us, is very, very different. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the simple fact is that's what's going on here. This isn't a clone. This is fully authorized by the same maker. I'm sorry, by the same designer, not by the same maker. The US one, the Kickstarter one's made by Millet. This is by CRKT overseas. But still, that's what's going on here. And that, so, well, yeah. Anyways, there you go. Let's go ahead and talk about what's good about this guy and what's not so good about this guy. Because honestly, like I said, I really lack the perspective to review a Karambit in its, you know, natural habitat, because I'm not doing the he-see. So, let's go on ahead and jump into the good and the bad. So on the good side, to start with, this is a locking knife. When I first saw the transforming design, I kind of wondered whether it was going to be sort of like a, well, the pressure, this is not how you hold a Karambit, this is how you hold a Karambit. Anyways, I thought that the pressure was the only thing, the pressure of your hand was the only thing keeping it open. And, you know, to an extent that might work well, but no. In practice, what you have here is this little lock bar down here, and in order to unlock the knife, all you need to do is lift this back that away, and that allows the knife to actually close pretty smoothly and go back to its closed position. So this guy is a fully locking knife, and I can't really spine whack it because that's not the approach here. I'd have to like claw whack it, and that's a good way to put a hole in a table, so I'm not going to go on ahead and do that. But the simple fact is that it feels pretty secure. There is a little tiny bit of up and down up and down play that doesn't even make sense here. But there's a little bit of play in this dimensionality here, back and forth, but it's not substantial whatsoever. And so it is a locking knife, and that's good. Next thing, the clip on this guy is weird as heck. What we have here is a hidden clip. And so in order to use the clip, what you do is you pinch this area down, and that lifts up this area over here, which allows you to get it onto your pocket. Now, this isn't providing crazy amounts of gription. If I were hanging upside down as a part of my everyday life, this might not be the clip I trust first. But one advantage that it does have, I'm going to see if I can put this over this little thing here, just to see, to simulate. When you have this guy into your pocket here, this actually has a very, very deep carry. This clip is a very, very deep carry clip. And so even though you've got your big old tactical karambit going on here underneath, it is relatively subtle. And you know what? I do appreciate that very much. And then the nice part about this clip is that once you actually have this guy in hand, the clip basically disappears. There is, you don't feel the clip. It's not sticking up. There's no ramp or anything like that. We'll talk about the clip a little bit later, but at the same time, that part of it is very nice, and it's kind of an interesting approach to an articulating clip. The fact that it relies just on the material of the steel, that's pretty smart. And I'll be saying that a lot. There's a lot of pretty smart stuff going on here. Speaking of that clip, one advantage of this guy in the pocket is that there is very, very quick access. Because, okay, you reach into your pocket here and you grab the little ring. That's the important part here. You grab your ring. And then the beautiful thing is that the edge of your pocket is going to be right down here. Because remember, your pocket is kind of stretched around this guy like this. And so all that you need to do, you can effectively use this bottom part here as an Emerson Wave style opener. Or if you grab the very bottom of your pocket, I'm going to try and do this. The thumb is the bottom of the pocket here. If you just grab it and kind of pull with that downward force, it will deploy the knife as you're pulling it out of your pocket. That is actually kind of cool. And honestly, it's quite slick. It works pretty well. I find that this is not an unreasonable approach, given I probably tried it 15 or 20 times. So, you know, I can't guarantee you that it's going to be like, oh my God, you know, perfection, but I didn't, you know, cut myself open. I haven't eviscerated myself in any way. And so, you know, don't, you know, kids, don't try this at home. Don't blame me if you hurt yourself, etc. But that seems like a perfectly reasonable way to open the knife. And it gives you incredibly quick access. Now, I know what you're thinking, Nick. Why would you need quick access to this knife? Well, imagine for a second, you know, we all know that the very best use of a karambit-style knife is as a carpet knife. That's why they're all shaped that way. But imagine you are a carpet installer, and you are dashing through a client's home. You know they are going to be home at any moment. This is some important client. This is like, I don't freaking know, some big celebrity, Neil deGrasse Tyson or something. And either ways, so they will be home at any moment. And then suddenly, bam, you realize there is a piece of carpet that hasn't been cut. And so you can just go, you reach into your pocket, you pull out your tactical karambit, you drop down onto the floor, you give that carpet what for. And then all you need to do is put this back. You can have that carpet cut in moments, in seconds, really. Much faster than any other karambit I am aware of, short of like a fixed blade or something like that. So, that is absolutely a beautiful thing. And so, the quick access might be helpful for you. Next thing, I have to say, the CRKT here has made this knife, and honestly, I'm really impressed by that. Not that CRKT is, but I'm impressed that CRKT has done a really good job here. Because not only is the steel here in D2 steel, which the Cricket and D2 need to be the things that you hear together more often, but honestly, this is a serious knife. At a very real level, this is very well made. There's not a whole lot I can really complain about in terms of fit and finish here. Like I said, there's a little bit of play here, but that may just be inherent to the style of the lock here, and it's not a functional issue particularly ever, because even if there was a failure here, your hands are still going to stop it from closing up again. But regardless, this is actually quite well made. I'm looking at this and I don't have strong objections to it. And couple that with the decent materials, the aluminum, the D2, etc., this is a $200 knife from CRKT that I really don't have much of a problem with the price on. It's weird. It's a little unusual. Would I like to see S35VN or M390? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But honestly, I don't object to this, and that's really good. I love, love, love seeing what CRKT has been doing lately. They are sort of inching slowly towards acknowledging not only the budget models that they've become known for, but towards doing higher-end versions of things. And this is a higher-end knife, 100%. I think a lot of people looked at this, if this is a representative sample, a lot of people thought, oh, wow, CRKT, they're going to make it terribly. But actually, no, this is really well, this is well done. This is a knife that is good. in terms of if you need this particular situation here. But like in construction-wise, it's good. The detent is good. There's a whole lot to like about this guy, and I have no objection to the fact that CRKT made this. And that was one of my biggest concerns, is like, are they going to underdo this really cool design? And no. They just stepped up to the plate and just, bam, they did it. And that's great. I absolutely love seeing that. And I hope that whoever at CRKT is starting to push the company in the direction of, let's keep some budget options, but let's also really knock it out of the park on some higher-end stuff every so often. I hope that keeps going, because I'm really cheering for CRKT to become, you know, to embrace all sides of the market, not just the low end as well. So I like seeing that very much. Then finally, on the good side, is this transforming thing. Look, this is actually a really great idea. Like, putting aside the practicality of the knife itself, the transforming aspect of it is stellar, because it's very, very easy. You can do it in a variety of ways. You can pop it open holding it like this. I don't know why you would, but you certainly can. You can pop it open holding it, there we go, in your generalized carumbeting position. All you need to do is, you know, put your finger here and then just slide your thumb that way, and then bam. And there's enough detent here that it fires out 100% reliably, and you are instantly in your carumbeting position such that you can take that carpet and give it what for. That's a beautiful thing. You can also do this, and I cannot do this under the camera, but you can also do this with centripetal force, where if you kind of grab it and then whip it that way, whip it good, you will absolutely be able to get this into shape. And that's a beautiful thing. It will pop out just using the, and there I cheated with my thumb a little bit, but it will pop out just using that. And then, like I said, you also have the possibility of doing it with the edge of the pocket, which is, I think, another approach that can work pretty compellingly. Honestly, and then when the knife is closed, by the way, it's this chisel ground blade is sitting against this little part here, which makes it actually relatively safe. I have no safety concerns whatsoever with carrying this guy in terms of, you know, the blade being exposed. I just look at this and I'm like, wow, that's smart. Caswell has really thought this out well, and the end result is something that's really compelling. You can tell that this guy spent hours and hours and hours and hours staring at this, tweaking, improving, making a good locking mechanism, making a clip that... This is just good design. Whether or not you think that this particular implementation is practical for your everyday life, I have to absolutely acknowledge that Caswell has made a really nice design here. And so I appreciate that, and the transformation actually works really, really nicely. And the more I've gotten used to it, the more I feel that way. So to me, at least, all of that is the good, is that the transformation is really actually quite cool. And it's really well designed overall. The CRKT has really shown some great depth here. Well, not depth, range. That's what I wanted. They've shown some great range in making this knife quite well. They've done justice to a really cool design. It has very quick access for your carpet installers on the go. It has a hidden clip, which is very deep carry, which is nice, and it is a locking knife, even though you might expect it not to be, given the overall shape and size of it. So that to me is the good. On the bad side, it is a pretty heavy knife right here. We are looking at scale being hidden someplace. Here we go. Looking at 5.9 ounces here for a 2.5 inch blade or so. That's a beefy one. It's also pretty wide in the pocket overall, although, you know, compared to some other, there's a Blade Runner Systems folder. I mean, this is also pretty wide, so it's not completely out of line, but that is absolutely something to consider. The other thing to remember, though, of course, is that the bulky part of this is going to be hanging off to the side of the pocket, which, by the way, again, really nice design. So that's not super stellar. The hidden clip on this guy. This is honestly a mixed blessing. Now, I'll give you, I didn't carry this that often because, like I said, it's not super practical for my everyday life. I think I carried it around for an afternoon at one point. But the simple fact is that the hidden clip is kind of, it's not super stellar in that you can get it up there and you can get enough ramp, but you're really having to kind of crank on it. And especially if you're wearing thicker pants, this isn't going to do a whole lot of greatness. And it's also a little bit, I don't know how to put it. It's a little bit smooth. I'd almost like to see a little bit of like, oh, what am I saying here? Like little cutouts, jimping basically on the bottom of the clip here to keep it in your pocket a little bit more securely. It's absolutely fine if you don't use the clip, if you don't use the knife often. But if you're in and out of your pocket constantly at your carpet installing job, you're going to have yourself a little bit of a problem with that. And that's not great. Next thing, the unlocking process. Unlocking is fine, but it's also not something I was able to do when you're in the carumbeting position. At some level, that's good. There is no way to accidentally unlock this knife. But at the other aside, it's probably the least pleasurable part of this. Maybe there's a way that can be improved, but honestly, it's not so bad. Because again, look, you've got this little, again, brilliant design here. I'm nitpicking a little bit here. Next thing, of course, a Karambit blade is not necessarily going to be that great in everyday life, I think, for a lot of folks. For me, they're not super, I don't know. There's not all that much need. I mean, sure, you can pop open a box, an envelope, a package, etc. there, and if you're a competent installer, you're going to freaking love it. And I know, of course, that that's not what these are intended for at all, but nevertheless, it's going to be a pain to sharpen on flat stones, and frankly, it's a weird thing. I mean, this has a lunchroom acceptability factor that is rather low and rather strange. People are going to look at you like, are you Batman? And in my case, well, yes, but that's beside the point. Yeah, there you go. And then finally, on the bad side, this is not about the knife per se, but I'm not super loving the fact that they did the Kickstarter for this guy, for the USA-made version of this, and then they delivered a imported version to the general public before they delivered the USA-made ones to the people who paid to support the project initially. Now, look, to be fair, they did announce on the original Kickstarter page that there was a production run made overseas in process at the very early stage of the Kickstarter. So people can't be like, oh, I thought I was getting the only version. No, that was right out there. And they did have apparently some, at least going by their website, the Kickstarter page, they had some issues with the anodization on the USA-made ones, where a vendor screwed them over or something like that, and that set them back a little way. So maybe it's possible that the USA-made ones would have dropped before, because they were targeting like October for that. And it's, what is it, February 2019. But nevertheless, I really don't love that they're shipping a cheaper imported version to everybody of the knife that their backers first supported and made possible before they're shipping the actual versions to the Kickstarter folks. That, I don't know. That's ugly to me. That feels like it's against the idea of Kickstarter. It's like these people are basically giving you the power to make something happen. And if you're helping everybody else before you help those investors, I don't know, that's kind of ugly to me. I don't have a horse in this race. I didn't get in on that Kickstarter just because I knew that, you know, Karambit wasn't going to do it for me at the same time. But I do definitely empathize, that is, with some of the backers who really weren't happy about that. And because at some level, I don't know if I'd like that if I'd back this. But they seem to be offering refunds where requested, etc. Just not great, though. And so I really, to me, that is bad. I really hope that doesn't become a thing more often. Like, here, I'm going to run a Kickstarter and then use that money to, you know, go toward the production. It's no. So, to me, all of that is the bad. Is that doing the Kickstarter thing, that wasn't handled so well, at least in my estimation. Karambit blades were a little weird in the everyday life. Unlocking is okay. The hidden clip is not so stellar if you're in and out of your pocket all the damn time. It's pretty wide and it's pretty heavy. Look, final conclusion front. This is a very niche product. I mean, first off, it's headed towards Karambit enthusiasts, which is a smaller part of the knife market, but certainly present. And it's headed towards Karambit enthusiasts who want something that folds up, which may make it smaller still. And they need super quick deployment for your carpet installers on the go. And they have to not mind big and heavy, because this is big and heavy. And they must be willing to pay $200 for even the imported version of something in this niche. So it's not going to be a huge target group for this. And statistically speaking, the number of people in the Venn diagram that whole thing outlines is very, very small, and so you probably don't need this knife. You are probably not a high-speed, low-drag, wealthy Karambit enthusiast carpet installer who needs this thing here. And it is not a knife that I would just go out of my way to recommend for everyday carry. I mean, if you just need a pocket knife, I would not hand you this necessarily, unless you've got quite a sense of humor or you are Batman. So, you are Batman, not a bad man. Although I imagine a bad man could carry this too and be quite happy. But whatever it is, there it is. That said, all of those things aside, all of the complaining, all the nitpicking aside, I have to say, this is a brilliant design. No matter what it is, no matter the practical everyday realities of what this actually is, this is something really unique and really impressive. Joe Caswell has done something that is quite amazing. This is a piece that I think harmonizes a certain kind of function with carryability, with ease of access, speed of access, and durability. And you know what? It comes across as like Joe Caswell, that is, having, you know, looking at this, it's like having a conversation with the guy, and like every time I look at something, it's like, yeah, I thought about that and fixed it. Yeah, I thought about that Yeah, I thought about that. There's nothing about this guy, maybe excepting the hidden clip, but like I said, even that's done well with the exception of with the deepness of the carry and whatnot. There's no part of this that I'm looking at like, oh, that's a design flaw. No, this is just really smart work. I really feel like Joe has thought every element of this through and worked really hard to make sure that whatever it is that he was after ended up being something that, you know, he could both be proud of and that he could really, just making sure everything's on point here. And CRKT has done a really excellent job bringing this thing to life. The price is high, absolutely, at least any $200 knife price is high, but at the same time, they have earned it. They have made something that is substantially well done, and so I really like seeing that. And Caswell has put himself on my radar right here. He has put himself as like, okay, what the heck is this guy up to? Because the fact that even though this is completely outside of my domain, there is absolutely no reason that I would even consider owning this knife. I'm really impressed by it, and I want to see what he's up to next. And frankly, the fact that CRKT is, if they're doing this kind of work with him, I'd love to see his next collaboration with them, because if it's something a little bit more, well, targeted at somebody who's not a carpet installer, I could absolutely see myself being interested in it. This is really, really cool. So, anyways, that I guess is my final conclusion. As to whether this is a practical everyday carry knife, only you're going to know for your specific use case, but this is absolutely a brilliant piece of design that has been executed really, really well by CRKT. And I think if you are in the group of people who wants one of these, I don't really think you should hesitate. I think this could absolutely be, Caswell, worth your while. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this bit of a 20-minute review, and that you have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of the day, and that this has transformed your outlook on this knife. Bye, everybody.